Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in today's second episode of the day, as you had this morning's episode, which released at 11 a.m. GMT, where I recapped the Seventh Doctor Adventures past forward with the Angels, parts 3 and 4, and obviously this episode, which should release at 3 p.m. GMT, where I will be recapping Not Going Out season 14 episode 1, which was originally released on the 13th of June 2025. And I am actually probably never going to happen again, but I am recording this episode on that date, so it's come out on today, the 13th of June 2025. So without further ado, here's my recap of Not Going Out season 14 episode 1. We start off with the Not Going Out title sequence. Lee and Lucy attend a house viewing. Lucy reveals all of her and Lee's children are now at university. Lee notices a watch. This watch belonged to the current owner's father. The current owner answers a call. Lucy asks Lee to stop. Lucy and Lee reveal their feelings towards this house. Lee asks Will if there is any chance of decreasing the price. Lee insults estate agents. Will reveals he is an estate agent, as well as his wife being a lawyer. Will makes a fish joke. Lucy laughs at this joke. Lee apologises to Will. Will answers another phone call. Lucy convinces Lee to make an offer on this house today. Lee needs the loo. Lucy has a problem with this. Lucy insults Lee's privates. Lucy asks Will to see his fish. Lee asks Will to use his toilet. Will reveals that his toilet has a flushing issue. Someone knocks on Will's door. Lee answers the door. This person seems to also be viewing Will's house. John introduces himself to Lee. Lee attempts to tell John he isn't the owner, but lies to John about Will's house being sold. Lee attempts to hide John from Will and Lucy. Will mentions New York. Lucy insults Lee's intelligence. Lucy mentions attending a negotiation course. Lee informs Lucy of John's arrival at Will's house, as well as the lies he's told John. Lucy is annoyed at Lee when she learns John is still in Will's house. Lucy knocks on Will's door. Lee pretends he needs the toilet again. Lucy asks to look at Will's fish for a second time. Lee talks to John through the bathroom door. Will's wife calls out for Will. This person is not actually Will's wife, but seems to be Will's mum or grandma. Lee hides John from this person. Lee continues to lie to John. Lee gives John something to read. Margaret, Will's mother, introduces herself to Lee whilst mentioning her dead husband. Margaret uses her stair lift. Margaret reveals that Will and his wife are breaking up. Lee and Margaret operate Margaret's stair lift, asking it to go in different directions. Lee mentions his bladder issues. Margaret asks Lee to guess something. Lee starts to panic. Lee convinces Margaret to meet Lucy. Margaret watches the TV. Lee and John attempt to not get seen by Margaret. Lucy tells a rhyme. Will introduces Margaret to Lucy. Lucy asks Margaret something. Lucy corrects herself. Lucy attempts to find Lee. John mentions having to attend other house viewings today. Lee lies to John about his relationship with Lucy. Lucy learns of this lie. Lee tells Lucy off for using inappropriate language in front of John. Lee introduces Lucy and John to each other. John insults Lucy's age. Or Lee's age, I think it is. Is it? I don't think it was Lucy. Lucy insults Lee to Lee. Lee informs Lucy that he hasn't used the toilet yet. Lee gives Lucy some advice about talking to Will and Margaret. Will mentions Lucy uses Lee's advice. Lee throws out John. John misunderstands one of Lee's jokes. Will says goodbye to Lee and Lucy. Lee and Lucy kiss whilst John watches. John apologises to Lee and Lucy. Lee believes something is wrong with John. John insults Lee and Lucy. Lucy asks Lee to go and flush Will's toilet. Lee attempts to flush Will's toilet until he breaks the toilet handle. Lee picks up John's poo. Will refuses to show... Apologies if you were eating then. I should have issued a warning. Will refuses to show Lucy the fish anymore. Margaret notices that Will's father's watch has disappeared. Will blames Lee for this. Will believes Lee and Lucy are thieves. Lee mentions John. Lee comes clean to Will and Margaret. Will mentions Elvis and the cast of Hamilton. Will asks Lee to empty his pockets. Lee doesn't want to do this. Lucy empties Lee's pockets. Will and Margaret open John's poo. Lee yells at John. Lee admits to his lies to John. Lee and John fight. Lucy agrees to buy Will's house at its full price as well as the fish, and Lee asks to use Will's toilet another time, and that is my recap of Not Going Out Series 14, Episode 1. Now, I don't know what tomorrow's episodes, either of them, are going to entail. But obviously the first one will be a Big Finish episode as normal, and that episode will release at 11 a.m. GMT as is standard at the moment. And the second episode will focus on something TV related, and that will release at 3 p.m. GMT. But back to this episode, let me know what you thought of Not Going Out Season 14, Episode 1, if you watched it. My recap, if you didn't, you can put your thoughts on both of those in the comments below, as well with anything else you want to come on the channel, such as any previews or recaps. Put those in the comments below as well. Remember, you can also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. GMT for another Big Finish episode. See you then. Goodbye.